Hello and welcome, connoisseurs of fine common cardboard, to today's live stream. And tonight, I am building Gnarlback Rhino with my friend, Ankylosaur, who will appear momentarily. There you are.
Hello.
Yeah, good to see you, buddy.
How's it
Um,
going?
it's going. We were just talking about the fact that I was a little sleepy, a little tired today. Had I would say a little too much fun this weekend, but it was just the right
Okay.
amount of fun.
Yeah.
So
Excellent.
we're gonna be tackling this together. I'm really grateful to have you here to help me build this commander because we won't be the first one to have tried it before, but I think we will be trying to optimize it from where we last went off. So. And for those of you watching who haven't met Ankylosaur before, they have a YouTube channel which you can find at ankylosaurmtg.com, correct?
Yeah, Ankylos or MTG at YouTube.
Yep.
And yeah, that's I'm just getting started. I've only got maybe half a dozen videos up right now, but
Got it.
I'm trying to do one a week. So keep checking back.
Wonderful. That's what we like to hear. More folks making cPDH. We're seeing we've got Alex in the chat. Bring on the Stompy and Buddha Dragon. Volume is a little low. Yeah, I'm working on remedying that as we speak here. So thank you for the heads up on that, Buddha Dragon. Always appreciate that. Alex says Daddy's just a little sleepy. Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, we've been recovering all day today to get ready for the stream. So glad to have everyone here today. Thanks for joining. We're going to run right into this here because we have a little bit less time today than normally. But let's take a look at this commander. So Gnarlback Rhino is an uncommon. It's also a common. It got downshifted, which is wild. Kind of like the Murmuring Mystic, where we have this fabulous commander that has now joined the 99 as well. And the relevance of that was fairly limited. It added a card to Goreclaw, which is actually a great card advantage engine. If you get fight spells, that works. But the biggest impact in the 99 was on Satyr Enchanter, where people can now draw 2 cards a turn every time they target something, which is I lost it
Yeah.
out in Vegas. I thought I was going to be able to push through, but they ended the game with many cards. I think it was Maximum Magic I was playing against, who's a member of our server. So but in the command zone, this thing is nuts. If we can rush into this thing, maybe like turn 3 protected, turn 4 protected, and start casting spells that target the Rhino, then we can actually play mono green control with kind of like a Voltron finisher. And I have played against this deck. The original progenitor of this deck in the cPDH context, as far as I know, is our patron Noyark. So if you're out there, Noyark, thank you so much for bringing this to us in the first place. We're kind of finally circling back around. We've gotten a lot more fight spells. We've gotten sticker-related stuff. A lot of evolution has happened, I think, in this space. So I'm excited to dive into it. We've got Mizu saying, hey, it's up-and-coming PDH YouTuber Ankylosaur. I bet he has amazing... I hear he has amazing content. He does, absolutely. He's done a recent video on comparing the different red partners with Malcolm, which is a great video. Definitely make sure to go and give that a listen. So one of the big, first of all, to clarify, we've done a lot of work on this already. Definitely
Mhm.
took inspiration from Noyark's build to start off with. Took a lot of inspiration as well from Herd Baloth, which is really like very similar, or sorry, not Herd Baloth, but Goreclaw, which is
Oh, yep.
similar in the sense that it's a 4-mana commander that you want to ramp into rather quickly, and then it's going to enable a powerful game plan. So we're going to be looking at playing a lot of protection. We're going to want to ramp into this fairly consistently, and then we're going to be building around some mechanic. In Goreclaw, you're building around 4+ power creatures that cost 2 mana when they're discounted, 3 mana maybe if they're a little bigger. Maybe they have some good ETB. In this one, it's going to be mostly the ability to target something. And one of the big discussions we've talked about a lot is there are cards out there that are 1 mana that have some limited ability to them, and then they say draw a card. And in this deck, that's 1 mana draw 2. That's a thought cast. It's an of 1 mind. It's a very powerful effect. And that's going to be one of the big questions is how many of those do we play? What's your intuition around that, Ankylosaur, around how we balance like the protection suite, the removal suite, and just raw card advantage.
Yeah, I think one of the things that really sets Gnarlback Rhino apart is the ability to um, have this these like cards that are a little bit janky, like Viridescent Wisps is a good one. Uh, it's just target creature becomes green, gets 1/0, but you draw a card and it only costs 1 green mana. Um, Balancing how many of those do we run? How many of the 2 mana ones do we run? The 2 mana ones, I think there's more of, and the value on those it kind of differs pretty wildly from what you can get out of that effect, other than drawing 2 cards. But you tack draw 2 cards onto anything, and it's not bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, being able to turn it into an instant speed Night's Whisper or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Refuel ourselves a little bit and get maybe a little bit of incremental value.
There's a number of these that
Yeah.
look quite reasonable. We have cards like Poison the Blade, being able to give Death Touch. Gnarlback
Yep.
Rhino does have Trample, meaning that if they block with a number of things, then we can allocate 1 damage per creature and then trample the rest over, and be able to do things like that. So,
Yep.
yep, we've got cards like even Tel'Jallad's Defiance. A lot of these cards we're going to see, they're 2 mana, 1 mana, 3 mana draw card. They're not amazing alone.
Yep.
But boy, in this deck, it doesn't take a lot for them to become really good. Even Tel'Jallad Defiance can be protection against an Aether Spellbomb, which is definitely like a pretty harsh card against this deck. Being able to target the commander that way. We do have a lot of hexproof, but that could be fine. It's also just a 2 mana draw to at instant speed. I mean, these are instant speed Night's Whispers with no life loss. Musa says
Yeah.
cantrips are just so bonkers with Gnarlback. Exactly. And these aren't even cantrips. These are draw 2s, right? Like, Provoke is one that you put me onto here, where we can 2 mana untap a creature you don't control. That creature blocks this turn of Fable. This is basically going to be another kill spell, right? We're gonna
Yeah.
be able to use this inside of combat, outside of combat. Yeah, cards like that. We've got Aggressive Urge. Even this right here, this +1/+1 is largely like, I don't know, how do we describe this? It's like the cherry on top. It's like, okay,
Exactly.
cool.
Yeah.
Like, we get a little bonus out of this. It's like we're drawing 2 cards for 2 mana and instant speed, and our creature gets a little bigger. Sign me up. Like,
Sure.
that seems really
Yeah.
good. So all of these here are available. Even Feral Instinct, like even this, it's like we're drawing the card at the next upkeep. I don't mind that either. Might of the Old
Yeah.
Ways is going to be interesting, depending on how our ramp package is, because our ramp is largely going to be the creatures that might have the different power. Then the ability to draw 2 with a +2/+2 might be good. But if it's only draw 1 at 2 mana, it might not make the cut.
Yep.
Reality Anchor, again, like, this is starting to get really deep in the jank.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe we take a Dothy Horror or a Dothy Slayer, and we make it lose shadow, draw a card. But really, what this is for is 2 mana draw 2 to give our creature no more shadow. It doesn't have shadow, but that's
Yeah.
okay. So,
Right.
yep.
Yeah. And I think one of the ways to think of it is like, if this were a black control deck, would we be running Sign in Blood? Would we
Oh
be
yeah.
running Night's Whisper? And the answer is like, absolutely we would.
Absolutely. Yeah. All the
Yeah.
time.
So it does have the downside of needing our commander in play, which you know, we have plenty of protection for it, but sometimes we'll get got,
Yeah.
and maybe our commander won't be around, in
Yeah.
which case Reality Anchor does not look very good.
No.
However,
Yeah.
I think the upside is there that if for the 1 mana and the 2 mana ones, I think we want to run maybe all of them. The 3
Yeah.
mana ones are where I'm kind of like,
They have to be doing
let's
something
think
really
about,
good.
yeah, they
Yeah.
got to be doing something real good for
Yeah.
sure.
And I think the question around the reliance on our commander is one that in a lot of cases we would want to minimize our reliance on our commander, because it's the thing most likely to eat removal and counter spells, edicts to die in a sweeper. This is
Yep.
not a deck where we can afford to do that. it means that our axis of vulnerability is very uh, narrow, and it's going to be
Mhm.
mainly countering our commander. And nowadays, what I see with counterspells is that most people playing counterspells are using them to defend their combo. And so I think that that's where a card like Gnarlback Rhino has room to be played, and it has room in the meta. And that means that our stuff is going to be largely reliant on our commander, right? This deck is going to be very
Yeah.
commander reliant, and that's fine. Every deck has its weakness, and this is going to be a very clear one. We've got Gold Lotus Popper. Welcome. Just stopping by to say hello. I'd stick around. We have a ton of footage. I have a ton of footage to edit, but happy Halloween, everyone. Thank you, Gold Lotus, for sticking around or for stopping by and saying hi. For those of you who don't know, Gold Lotus makes great Popper content, and we recently did a gameplay video last week, so go make sure to check that out.
Yeah.
For 3 mana, Lace with Moonglove for the Death Touch, Refresh. These cards actually have text.
Mhm.
Regenerate, potentially good. Scale the Heights. This card is a lot of text. Um, this
Yep.
one definitely seems good. Lace with Moonglove. I don't know. What do you think about this?
I hmm. So I like Poison the Blade a lot.
Yep.
I don't know that I want to pay an extra mana for it.
Yeah, 3 mana draw
Um,
2 is sort of getting into like the bad black draw spell territory where you still play them because you need them, but maybe we just have enough good stuff at 1 and 2 that we don't need to dip into 3 unless it's also something else.
right. Yeah, it's like it becomes a quick study. And is quick study a bad card? It's playable,
Very playable, yeah.
but I don't know. I feel like we can do better.
Yeah. What about Wild Size?
Yeah.
This is also, the trample doesn't matter.
Mhm.
+2/+2, relevant, draw a card, good. And but it's 3 mana, right? What do you think about this one?
That's another one that I am a little bit iffy
Maybe we
about.
start with the ones that we're
I
not on
like
the fence
the
about. We could start there. That
Yeah.
would be a good place
Yeah,
to
that
go.
would be good
Like Scale the
for
Heights, I
sure.
think seems like
Scale the Heights, I think, is a good one.
very good. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So let's go there. We're gonna do CMC equals 2 or MV equals 2. Poison the Blade, definitely there. Are
Like
you
it.
all these 2 mana ones probably?
I think so. I think, yeah, I think at least we are going to have to get down to 100 cards at some point.
Yep.
But I think we start by keeping the 2 mana ones and maybe we'll reconsider a little bit later.
Yeah, yeah. If there's anything there that just doesn't fit, we can cut those as well. Now there are a lot of 1 mana, you know, options here too. We have Charge Through, which again textless, right? Like the trample does not matter, but it
Yeah.
is. This is if this just read Thoughtcast and it was always kind of on
Yeah,
for the most part, we would play it. So
for
that
sure.
one's good. And then we have Viridescent Wisps as well, which this one is not textless. It does actually give us a little bit of power. So
Hmm.
that's good there. And
Yep.
then
Those are great.
we can go into our considering list here to look at some of the cards that we have available to us. So the first thing we could start with perhaps are the cards that we know we are absolutely going to play. Um, and maybe, see, I'm trying to think of which would be the start, where to start with this. Like if it's in the removal, if it's in the protection, the ramp, where would you want to start with a deck like this?
Since we are more controlling, I would start with the removal
Okay.
package, I think personally.
Yeah, let's do
That's
that. So
yeah.
we'll go here and we're gonna switch up the visual stacks to let's do a visual. What is it? Visual spoiler? Is that the one? Yeah, let's do that. And then we can go down into the considering and look at our draw spells one by one. So we've got Mutant Prey. Target creature you control with a +1/+1 counter fights another target creature. I think there's a really good chance that we have a +1/+1 counter on our commander. At some point in time, there's a possibility that this is dead, but it is a 1 mana fight spell. at instant speed.
Instant speed. Yeah.
Yep. So I think this one main deck.
Yeah.
We got Titanic Brawl. If you have a +1/+1 counter, it's only 1 mana. Instant speed, another fight spell. With Ancient Animus. This one's great. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control if it's legendary. So this is really just an instant speed fight spell. It's not, our commander is not legendary. So maybe we hold on that one for the moment. The instant speed is definitely where we want to be. Being that we are a control deck here. But there's some premium stuff. Bite Down is a bite spell. The
Bite
bite
Down's great.
spells are just like, there's 3 of them. We have the Cosmic Hunter, we have the Master's Rebuke, and then we
Master's
have
Rebuke,
the
yep.
Bite Down. Yep. These ones are
Yep.
classics.
Those are all
Oh,
perfect.
and
Yeah.
Ram Through. Sorry, that's the 4th one.
Yes.
Which is going to kill players on occasion.
Yes.
And then we have a few other ones. We have Ent's Fury. This one is I think a great fit for this deck, even though it's sorcery speed, because it's actually giving us a +1/+1 counter, and then you're getting +1/+1 again if you have, +1/+1 counters left if you have power 4 or greater, and then if you don't, you're just getting +1/+1. But I think this is quite reasonable.
Yep. And that's one that we can put a pin in as well, just
Yeah.
because we do have some +1/+1 counter synergies with some of the other cards.
Yeah.
And if we get to a certain threshold of those, then like that card we were literally just talking about.
Oh, Mutant Prey.
Yes, Mutant Prey.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or even the other one, which was the Titanic Brawl. Both of those ones are.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those get a lot better if we do have a certain number of things that will give us +1/+1 counters. So
right,
let's
1 mana, draw a card, terminate. Like, very good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, we like that. Prize Fight, here's another one. So anything that's instant speed that's also, or really any of these spells that also give us something else at the same time is going to be really appealing. Like Prize Fight here is basically the same thing as the Ancient Animus or the Titanic Brawl, except that the treasure comes after we tap it. So it's always gonna give us that mana back. But so it's always kind of 1 mana. It's 2 mana to cast, which means we might have to tap out.
Sure.
It's not the same exactly. The spell isn't resolved yet. Our person could go to kill our commander, but it doesn't require anything else. It doesn't require counters. I think Prize Fight's quite nice.
Yep.
Other cards, we have some of the 3 mana ones here. We have like Ambuscade. When we get into 3 mana, the big value of the 3 is that we are no longer fighting. We are mostly biting. And a bite is where we're going to be just hitting them for our power. And that's a lot better because it's not inflicting any damage on our commander. We can get around things like Death Touch. And they also come with some power boosts too. So like Ambuscade gives +1/+1. We've got Clear Shot, which is going to give, or sorry, +1/+0. This one gives +1/+1. We have cards like Spoil the Hunt, +1/+0, only if it's treasure. So it might depend on whether we are prioritizing the bite over the fight, but there's lots of good options here. Maybe we want to go into Provoke here. So talk to me a little bit about Provoke. You'd been really excited about this, I think, when we first started to talk about this deck together.
Yeah, so Provoke is a good way to take out a creature that you may not even be in combat with. One of my favorite things about Provoke is that let's imagine there's an aggro player who's swinging into the Malcolm player, right? Like if you don't have a fight spell, you can still provoke the Malcolm, make it block, and it'll have to get thrown under the bus of whatever giant aggro thing is attacking. The real messed up thing is when the attacking creature has menace, because if you force a creature to block and they have an extra creature, that extra creature will be forced to block as well to satisfy the conditions of blocking a creature with menace.
Right.
So Provoke becomes a 4-for-1 against a menace creature, basically. It's just a totally messed up card. And like people still play Gut Leader. There are still like skeleton tokens running around.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's not something that you'll encounter every day, but boy, that day that you do.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
and it doesn't
yeah,
need to target our commander because it's drawing a card anyways. So
exactly.
it
Yeah.
is meeting the requirement of all these other effects. This one
Yep.
is going to be really interesting to see. That one, if it's allowing us to pick off two things at once, is actually better than these, right? If our or like there's another scenario where your opponent is attacking with a Dargo and they're attacking another player, and you cast your provoke to give them untap a key creature and force them to block with those two
Yep.
creatures, and then your other opponent says, I can't lose both my creatures, maybe both my commanders. And then they go and they kill the Dargo, right? And
Sure.
then we're actually
Yeah.
looking at a scenario where it's similar to the impetus cards, where you're getting a massive value exchange. And really, like, we're a control deck. We like that. We like that kind of thing a lot. And we've got Mosh Josh. Welcome. We've got Froggy1 from Discord here. This is a beast of a commander. Hexproofing instants are going to be real friend due to the fear factor of this thing being at the table. Absolutely. Yep, we're definitely going to have lots of protection in this deck because our commander is very key. So now I see we've got the 2 mana instant speed fight spells. I can't imagine that we don't play these. These still seem like they're probably pretty important. What's your read on these vanilla ones? This one does have a little upside here if you have Coven active.
Yep. No, I mean, I think these are going to be like our bread and butter. These are our Doom Blades.
Yeah,
We're playing green, but like we're also playing a 4/4 in the command zone
yeah.
that is bigger than most things in the format. Like most things that people play just tend to be smaller than a 4/4.
Yeah,
So the fact that we can just, pounce it, that's seems totally fine to me.
absolutely. Especially because it's going to be quite hard to block as a trampler. So being able to attack, nobody blocks because they don't want none of that. And then afterwards
Yep,
we fight. Then we're not really putting a lot of damage on our commander. We're only taking the fight damage
exactly.
while
Yep.
drawing a card, which is great. Now there's a couple other
Mhm.
ones that we're going to want as well that are kind of staple to this. Alluring Scent is going to be disgusting.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
Putting this on our commander, drawing a card, and then wiping our opponent's board potentially. It depends on how big our commander is, right? We might not always want that, but I think that the ability to have green board wipes in the deck for a single player seems powerful. What do you think of this card?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm super high on Alluring Scent, Shinnin of Lice Roar
Yep.
also
Here's the other one.
in the deck. Um,
Uncounterable.
Real good with um, some of our protection spells. We've got Withstand Death that'll give
Indestructible.
Indestructible, Timeo Safekeeping as well. And we've also got a couple things that'll give Death Touch.
Oh,
Death
yeah.
Touch, that's the old lure Thicket Basilisk thing from back in '93, you know. But make everybody block the thing that is gonna kill it and then just go to town. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
think that's going to be
love that.
really key, especially, and it's going to be pretty dynamic. We might find situations where we like selectively wipe the board of, um, a whole number of different scenarios. I mean, it's kind of like Arms of Hadar that draws a card for 3 mana. In a lot of
Yep.
cases, we may need to indestructible it as well for 1 mana, maybe two. But in that case, it's like 2 mana, draw 2 cards for 5. Kill your opponent's whole board. So um,
Yeah.
that seems good. We also have some sorcery speed ones at 2 mana. We have like the Warbriar's Blessing here, being a sorcery speed that's also going to leave behind some toughness as well. What do you think about sorcery speed on this, given that it is leaving behind some chonk?
I I'm a fan of that card. I
Yep.
think that's let me Yep. No, I think it's a pretty solid one.
Still bread
Like,
and butter, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Um the fact that it is sorcery speed, I think is balanced out by the fact that it makes our commander better.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I
for
don't know.
sure.
I'm down with it.
Good. So then we have the 3 mana ones, and let's just make sure we've checked here. MV equals 2. O tag is going to be fight or bite. And I think these are both O tagged, right? Make sure we're not missing anything. We have rabid bite. Oh, this is a sorcery speed bite spell. That seems like we're totally playing that, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that seems totally reasonable. Yep.
Yep. And then Smell Fear should have been here probably before. Sorcery Speed, this also proliferates, so this is going to probably put a +1/+1 counter on our commander. So we play that as well. Good. Okay, so we got that, and then let's just check MV1 as well, make sure we have everything there. Wing Puncture. It only hits flying creatures. Interesting. Okay. And then when we go to 3, this is where we get into some of these more value-oriented type things. Captain Orion says Aggressive Instinct. Yeah, we're definitely going to have Aggressive Instinct in here. Cartouche and Totem Armor could be decent with this commander as well. Yep, we're definitely going to be playing those as well. Great comments there. In the 3 mana slots, what do you think we're looking at there? We have 16 kill spells. 2 of them are sweepers currently, so 14. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these 3 mana, mostly bite spells, it looks like. Finishing Move, leaving behind stickers could be really, really good.
I mean, you know me, I do love a good sticker.
Yeah, and we should really, there's a lot of good sticker options. In fact, I've already done a little bit of work on this. We have Double Prowess is going to end the game very, very quickly.
Real good. A very good sticker.
Yep. Whenever it attacks, untap. So this is going to be Vigilance for the most part.
Sure.
Whenever you cast, this is busted. Whenever you cast a spell, it gets +X/+X, where X is the amount of generic mana spent on that card. Yeah, this is kind of like the Double Prowess.
That was huge.
Yeah, it's
huge.
Super lifelink. I mean, this always lifelink is like always kind of one of the best of them in like half of the decks that might play stickers.
Yes.
Like in Crackling Drake when you give it lifelink, in Sailor's Bane when you give it lifelink, and the reason it's good is because it breaks the color pie. So that one's nice. Whenever you attack, gain 2 life.
Yeah. And the lifelink sticker too, with all of our fight and our bite spells.
Oh my god. It's just actually going off. Way more broken here, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. We're just utterly popping off with the lifelink sticker.
Can you imagine a turn where you like do this, and I think you get the sticker before this?
You do.
Yeah, you do. Yes. So this is like a life. Oh god. I like that quite a lot. So
very good.
Whenever this one attacks, you gain 2 life. Probably not premium. Menace. This is gross because we also have trample. Like,
yep.
We have ways to give death touch. Vigilance. I do have a lot. I do put a lot of value on the ability to have a vigilant commander when you're playing Voltron, because one of the ways that we die is that people go wide and they swarm us and they just sort of like circle beat us, and then we can't attack anymore. So Vigilance, Ward 2 seems really good because our interaction is so cheap, our protection is so cheap, that making everybody's kill spells cost, like realistically this thing's going to die mostly to black kill spells. So it's going to be like most kill spells will cost 4 mana, which will kind of be like you can do 1, and it won't work. Death Touch, great.
That's great.
Heroic, this one's busted. Every time you target it, it's like what? And then First Strike also cracked. I think the only one here that doesn't really fit is the gain 2 life every time you attack. Because that one's
I believe we're at 11 stickers anyway, so we should have
perfect fit.
Just cut that one and perfect. Yeah.
So then we are going to play Finishing Move. Now we have the other ones here that we have options for. Are like Wolf Strike is actually no, see this one's only if it's nighttime. So really the only ones that we have here that are really premium would be like Band Together, because this is more than one creature deal their power. So you could potentially get something bigger earlier maybe, but The rest of these here, it might be like Ambuscade and Clear Shot. They give a buff, but really like Wolf Strike, Spoils, Combo Attack as a sorcery. These ones are not premium. But like
I
maybe
agree.
Clear Shot and Ambuscade would be the next two if we wanted them. Um,
Yeah. I mean, we can have them in there for the time being,
and then cut them if
and
they're too much.
cut them if yeah, you
Okay.
know.
Band Together will be one that we would, if we wanted to reach for one more, then we could do that. Because it is
Yeah.
instant speed, it is two creatures. So maybe earlier on you're able to kill a Dargo because you have a bunch of ramp creatures, and maybe Gnarlback
Correct.
Rhino is
Yep.
like 6 power or 5 power, and you have an elf in play, then you can 6 it. So
Yeah.
um, okay, that's good. We could make some great progress there. As you can see here, Scale of the Heights just kind of does everything in this deck. It's a pretty
Mhm.
broken card in this context. Like plus one counter, gain to explore, but then draw another card as well. Is
Yeah.
nuts. Okay, we've got 2 provokes here. We can get rid of that. And that's 18 removal spells. If we were talking about a traditional control deck, we're looking at 20 to 25 is about right. But I think that because we also have this very like conclusive finisher, this ability to like end the game, we
Mhm.
probably, and we're going to draw so many cards that
And
like,
we're gonna draw. Yeah,
you just don't necessarily need as many, right? Because your draw spells will hit more
that's
kill
true.
spells. So
Yeah.
um,
There is a possibility, like if we wanted to go a little bit more, Prey Upon
uh-huh.
is just 1 mana sorcery speed fight.
Oh, really?
I don't.
Did I not get all of the MV equals 1 0 fight? Oh, tag fight? It didn't come up. That's interesting.
Interesting.
Prey.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Um,
So maybe it wasn't tagged. Yeah, Prey Upon is like, yeah, it's a 1 mana terminate at sorcery speed. It's a one mana Dreadbore. That's what we're
yeah,
talking about. So
for
maybe we
sure.
need to do O fight and then MV equals 1 because that is the terminology. Like Savage Swipe is another option.
Savage Swipe is it's basically Prey Upon, but sometimes if we have a 2-drop, it becomes a 4-drop. Is that right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
a 2-power creature becomes
right.
a 4-power? Yeah,
I mean, I think like just 1 mana kill something is like very premium. Um,
totally reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that we did that little search there because I'd missed those. As you can see, the work before those were not there. Rabid Bite as well was not there. Smell Fear was not there. Now we're up to 22. That's a shitload of removal. That's
It's a lot of removal.
especially when like
Yeah.
because these removal spells also draw us cards. That's the thing that's like
Yeah.
so disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then let's go and we're going to change the view up here a little bit so that we can see the cards in a little bit more of a compressed fashion. We're going to go into the considering here and take a look at these. So some other draw spells that we have here are Canopy Claws. This one is 2 mana, draw 2. So this would be kind of in that category of like, yep, we play those, right? Because it's just like target our commander, it loses flying. Target our commander, it loses flying. Draw 2. Um,
Yeah.
so we play that. Praise Vengeance is another one of those, but it has Rebound. This one's actually one of the better cards in the deck, I think, because it's a buff twice that is drawing 2 cards
Yeah.
for 1 mana, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
absolutely playing
Yeah, I think
that.
that's a great one.
Yep,
Yep.
and then we can cut these because we've already included them like that. Get rid of those. I think we're probably not looking at Lace with Moonglove or Refresh, but we'll come back to these if we need to. Scale Snake Umbra is another card that we're probably going to want here, right? But we
Oh
could,
yeah.
let's
Yeah, the
see.
totem armor is
Oh, the
huge,
Totem
I
Armor is
think.
why. Yeah. Uh huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it will draw a
It's
card
a
right
it
away. That's nice.
Mhm.
Buddha says, "You say removal, I say draw spells." That's exactly what's going on here.
Yeah.
Original builds of this deck by Neuarch had Monstrify in it as a +4/+4 with Retrace. It is 4 mana, but this is kind of an engine of a sort where we can take our lands and turn them into other things. But my temptation is to say that this is really rich for like what you know, we're really happy to draw like 2 cards for 1 or 1 card for 1 when it's like 1 to 2 mana. And at 4
Yep.
mana, the only redeeming quality here is that all those extra lands that we're drawing, we get to turn into more draw spells, but it's also +4/+4. So this is for killing people, right?
Hmm.
What do you think about this one?
So, so +4 is a lot.
It's big. That's a
Let's
huge
just
buff. You got to get that out
let's
of the
just
way, right?
get that out of the way. It's a very large card. I think the sorcery speed is sort of what kills it for
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
Um,
right.
like if this were an instant, I think it would be very good. One of the things with Retrace 2 in this deck is we're not playing a ton of lands, so Retrace isn't going to come up as often.
Yep,
And I think this is a deck where we want to hit our land drops so we can keep fighting and we can keep up protection
yep.
as often as
Yeah,
possible.
we really want to be able to
Uh,
maximize our action economy in this deck because every action we do
Absolutely.
draws us cards, right? So,
Absolutely, yeah. So I think that having protection around while controlling the board, doing that thing, and keeping our resources available, I think that more often than not, we're going to want to have those lands in play rather than discarding them for a sorcery speed +4/+4.
yeah,
Those are my thoughts on it.
that's a great observation there. I think that there still may be room for this at the end, but when we were working on this before, we were kind of like at the hard cut stage at
Sure.
116. So I think that if
Yes.
there is a card to cut, it could be this. And maybe the rationale here is that quite simply, like a 2 mana draw 2 is just going to do more than a 4 mana draw 1 +4/+4 that we can maybe do a couple of times right throughout a
Sure.
game. It's very
Yep.
slow, is what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Captain
It's
Orion
like,
says downside of Canopy Clause is that the card does what is normally supposed. Let's see. Downside of the call is that the card does what is normally is supposed to do. Interesting. So the downside of it is that it does what it's supposed to do. Loses flying. Well, we're not going to be taking away flying from ourselves, luckily. We could actually, with Canopy Clause, we actually can give our opponents flyers not flying anymore. That is an option we have available to us. But yeah. And then what were you going to say, David? I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
oh, I was gonna just compare Monsterfy a little bit to Whispers of the Muse, but unfortunately, like if Monsterfy had
Yeah, no, it's a lot like that.
was an instant. Yeah, if
Yes.
it was an instant and we could just like, nothing else to do, end step, I'll Monsterfy, I'll draw a card for 4 mana. That's not bad. But sorcery speed, having it like take up our turn to do
Pretty
that,
brutal.
pretty brutal.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah, I think the only other card here I'm looking at is Wedding Invitation. Um, and the reason I'm looking at this one is because it has the ETB draw. One thing
Yep.
I've talked about a fair bit is that like in Witherbloom Apprentice, in Rona, in these decks where you're incentivized to play a certain thing, even TPI for that matter, that a certain kind of spell. So in the case of Rona and Witherbloom, it's instants and sorceries because you want the drain. Well, if you have a
Mhm.
card that just says drain on it, then you're able to play that card knowing that you are actually getting your triggers anyways. So it's not necessary for us to always, play something that's targeting our commander to draw cards because this is already doing that, right? It is 2 mana,
Yep.
so it's a little bit less, but this is giving it unblockable. Um,
Yeah.
which is going to kill someone. Someone is going to die from this card. We're
Yes.
not going to get the life link, but I think this is just quite playable, huh? Just on board.
It's definitely playable. I like that card quite a bit actually. I've played it in 60 card popper. I've played it in cPDH before. Yeah, the fact that you can just early game, turn 2, you need to run something out, run it out, draw your card, and then it just like hangs out.
Yeah.
And at some point, somebody's gonna be at, our one of the good things we haven't talked about Gnarlback Rhino is it's got 4 power, which means it's only 4 hits to kill somebody.
And it's not staying 4 power, right?
And
Like
it's not staying 4 power.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
going to hit somebody once for 4, and then you're going to hit them again for like 6 or 7. and then the next
Yep.
shot is going to be probably lethal.
Yeah.
And so,
And
and then the
you need
other
to get in
players will
that
die
that
way
last shot.
faster too, right? Like it's like a bird horse,
For
right?
sure.
Where it's like the first kill takes some time, and then the other ones are like 2 shots, right? Like, or
Yep.
yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so
So,
let's do this one.
yeah, I do like that one. Yeah.
I had listed in here. Okay, we maybe protection is where we want to go next because there's a lot of like really obvious stuff there. Um,
Yeah.
so Ranger's Guile, um, we've got Snakeskin Veil, which is
Yep.
the hexproof. We've got Tamio's Safekeeping. We have Vines of
Great.
Vastwood. We have Withstand Death. Indestructible being like actually more useful in this deck than it tends to be elsewhere because it
Yeah.
allows us to
Mhm.
punch through in combat. Bombadil
Absolutely.
Song, great. Um, the Temptation will not matter, but Gaia's Gift
Sure.
is cracked in this deck. Uh,
Real good.
wow. Um,
Another thing that gives us a +1/+1 counter too, if
yep,
we're making note of those.
absolutely. We've got now we're at some of the worst ones, like Jarael's Favor here, repeatable regeneration. Um, but it's
Yeah, Joriel's favorite, like it's 4 mana to regenerate the first time,
pretty
um,
bad.
which is a lot.
That's a lot.
Um, it's a
Avoid
lot.
Fate. We're definitely playing this, so let's just get that one in there too.
Avoid
Um,
Fate is great. Yep.
yep, yep. And actually, maybe we'll back up to Seedling Charm because this is infinitely better than Favor. Even this one is going to regenerate target green creature. Is that going to be enough? 1 mana regenerate, probably. But like against the
Maybe
Doomblade, this works. It works again. And
it
black
does.
removal is so it's really like the way I see it is and black removal and then blue bounce are going to be like
Yes.
our two sort of main concerns, and then we're going to have a lot of ramp creatures in play, and those will eat the edicts. Is how I see that. So regenerate for 1 mana
Yeah.
is probably still good enough, I think.
hmm
You can also return a
I
creature
wonder if
enchantment.
they're
That's like you can actually hit a Freed from the Real with this too.
yeah. um,
That's not good, but
yeah, it's not great, but it is a thing. Let's see what else is.
so
I'm
we're
just doing
looking
a
for
quick search.
indestructible, hexproof, shroud woodwork.
Shroud would work.
So
Um,
now let's just see if we have any shroud. We don't want it to be a creature. It'd be really we want type instant, right? We're not in the business of
yes.
playing um, anything that's sorcery
Got
speed
both of
protection.
those.
Oh, blinding fog, also kind of good. Oh, woodcutter's grit and sheltering word. Sheltering word is actually going to get us a shitload of life.
Yes.
Woodcutter's grit is
Sheltering.
big. Whoa, +3/+3. It's like Monsterfy.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot. Um, it is one of those things that like I hate leaving up 3 mana for our protection spell, but at the same time, +3/+3 is a lot.
It's the biggest buff on a protection spell that we have, other than vines.
It's true. It's true.
So I'm not sure we
Yeah.
dip into like Dreadlenorm territory,
Dreadlenorm is a lot.
but it does leave some
Dreadlenorm,
counters. Untaps
yeah,
it.
I mean, I do. I have I have sleeved up Dreadlenorm
Yep.
before. It is a big threat sometimes too.
Yeah.
But I don't know that that's necessarily where this deck wants to be.
Right.
We're probably not going to be tapping out for a 7/6 when we can be fighting stuff and like trying to protect our Rhino, which is just going to win us the game anyway.
Yeah, the Rhino is really what we're
So,
here for, like planning for this like backup
yeah.
strategy where we cast our 7 mana, 7/6 unblockable. Is probably not there, and really like these mono green, or really like the value of a card like this is when you are in a mono color and you don't have card draw, because then this is 2 cards in one. It's
Yes.
and they're both reasonable. We have so much card draw here that we're not reaching for this. It is a powerful protection spell, but boy, is it expensive. 4
Yes,
mana
absolutely.
is pretty unreasonable. That leaves us, we've got 12 protection spells so far. Let's see if I'm missing anything here. Anything on your end? We've got Mortals, Resolve, +1/+1, and Indestructible. We've got the Sheltering Word. Wrap and Vigor, regenerate each creature, is actually kind of interesting for a Crypt Rats.
Good against Crypt Rats, also good against something
Cannonade
like Intervene.
or Intervene.
Yeah, like it's not a thing that it targets, so we don't have to worry about,
Yep.
like Confound or something. You can't counter it with those spells.
Right.
Yeah, I don't hate it. It is something that won't draw us a card off of our Rhino.
That's really interesting. Maybe that's fine though, because it's just 2 mana,
It
and the
could be.
cheaper the
Yeah,
interaction is, the better. Um,
yeah. It protects all of our mana dorks from like Fiery Cannonade.
yeah.
Um,
Yep. And
yeah, it
I
might
have
it might just be worth it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've used it in Goreclaw to a lot of effect. I've protected all of
Mhm.
my little creatures before, and it was like kind of a big deal actually. As well as protecting like all of my other big threats too. Now we get into some interesting stuff. I want to talk about Crystal Carapace and see what you think about this one. Crystal Carapace is not a good card. However, the fact that it has cycling is
Mhm.
is really good. Um, this card does not make people necessarily kill our commander on the stack the same way that a Clout of the Dominus does. Cloud of the Dominus is another sorcery speed. It's a one, it's a red and a blue for
Yep.
+1/+1. If it's red, then it has haste. If it's blue, then it gets +1/+1 and shroud. And
Yep.
that card needs to die. Like that creature needs to die on the stack, because if it doesn't, it's never dying again. Probably not dying
It's true.
again. And so what that
Yes.
does is it does warp people's decision making to take advantage of those moments, because if they don't kill it now, they're never killing it. And so then it's kind of like that causes people a lot of fear, rightfully so. Crystal Carapace is Ward 2, which is actually good. The +3/+3 is kind of massive, and it cycles. So like early on, we can just pitch it if we need to draw cards, or maybe there's no opportunity to use it, but we have extra mana. Maybe we have 4 mana up. We have a protection spell, and then we have this. We cycle it away for 2. We're not dropping protection. And if we are able to resolve this, it's a big pump and it's a lot of protection. Do you think this makes the cut for the deck?
This is a card that I have since it was printed. I've wished that it had flash so badly. Like even like is flash, or like if it was like 1 green or something.
Or
Like
maybe
it
like 1 less
it's
mana?
it's it's so close. Yeah, it's so close for me, but I really worry about paying 4 for this effect. Even with cycling and being able to like
Yeah.
ditch it,
We're going to
I don't
hate
want to
this in our
put a
opening hand, right? Like it's going to be awful.
right. I really don't want to put a card in the deck thinking that a lot of the time, oh, it's okay, I'll just pay 2 mana and get rid of it. Like
I
we're
mean,
already drawing a bunch of cards,
I wonder,
and
actually, the thing I just said about hating it in the early game isn't true, because we can cycle it.
it's true. I
Hmm.
mean, the worst case scenario is we can always just get rid of it. If we need to hit a land drop, if we're looking for something else, we can get rid of it.
Yeah.
I'm I'm more wary of like at what stage in the game are we gonna pay 4 mana for this
Yeah. If
effect?
we have like, I could see it when we have like 8 mana in play. And this deck, because it is
Sure.
playing like aura ramp, it can make a lot of mana very quickly on the back of your Sculptor of Winter, Arbor Elf, Blighted
Yeah.
Burgeoning type combinations. It does, like when I played Noyark with this, when he was playing it, he had a lot of mana. he had yeah. It never felt like there was any good opportunity to kill his commander, um,
Mhm.
because of cards like this, or actually really because just all the protection. But yeah, so there's a part of me that wants to try it, but maybe we go and find the ones that we know are going to be good right off the bat. So when we're looking at this protection suite that we have, we don't really have enough yet, in my opinion. 14, um, like I need to have like multiple of these frequently to
Yes.
feel really
Hmm.
good. Which means that we
Yeah.
get into some stuff that sucks. Um, refresh is one of those, right? Because really, refresh is like Serpent Skin, except that it's drawing us another card. It's actually a draw two, and it's 1 mana less. It is one time,
Yep.
whereas Serpent Skin is permanent. Um,
True.
but I think refresh goes in. Um,
Yeah. And refresh again, we can think of it as like a quick study. Quick study is not a card that we're going to want in every deck, but the fact that this can also save our creature sometimes
it's big.
feels like a good quick study, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Let's look and see if there's any other ward cards here. Anything that gives ward to anything else. Something like leather armor is pretty middling, I would say, as a card in general, but maybe it adds up over time. Um, it's not even drawing us a card, but it is incredibly cheap, and we can immediately put it on our commander if we deploy it early. We do get protection through any sort of sticker effect if we have this particular sticker. Um, there's nothing else here that gives ward. Let's go and look at hexproof, type instant. And we have all those. We have the shroud, I think. There aren't any
Yep.
shrouds. Oh,
I,
very
I didn't see
interesting.
any I didn't see any with Shroud when I was looking. Yeah.
So what about indestructible? We've got all those. And then what about
Hmm.
regen? Okay, a lot more here. Mending touch. Oh wow, 1 mana instant speed regenerate. I think we play that.
Yeah,
That's
I
just
can
so
see that.
cheap,
I mean
right?
that's basically what you call it, the charm.
Yep.
It's just the mode that we care about most on the charm.
Oh, it's a shame that our commander is a rhino because vitality charm would work here.
Yes. If only it were a beast.
Yeah, if only it were a beast. We have the actual card regenerate, which
What
could.
about okay, what about fortitude?
Fort...
So fortitude has the rancor text of coming back to your hand, and you can sacrifice a forest to regenerate the enchanted creature.
Oh, interesting.
So this is a card that I've played in Aranis, because Aranis can just get the forest back. Aranis doesn't
Oh
care.
God, that's so
Um,
nasty.
yeah. um, but we do sort of care about sacking a forest sometimes, but sacrificing a forest to keep our commander around and like protecting it from multiple things feels like it could be worth it.
Yeah,
It is sorcery speed, but if we're looking for if we're looking for
for
more
diving deep.
stuff,
Yeah, I
yeah, if we're
wonder how
diving
this
deep, care.
compares. Like, how does that compare to just like actual factual regenerate, for example?
Yeah, um,
Or like the mending touch type thing. So with mending touch
yeah.
and the regenerate card, which is not here, there must be some other cards that have not received their home yet. Interesting. Mending touch, Bombadil song, Rapid. Huh? Did I not? Maybe I added it to considering. Let's go back. Uh, regenerate. Do I have it tagged properly? Um, regenerate. I've lost it
Uh,
somehow.
oh,
I've put it under pump. That's why. Okay,
oh,
that's not.
okay.
That's There we go. Okay. All right. All right. We found our way back here. Um, Good. That's there. That's there. That's there. Just making sure that the pump and the protection are all double tagged here. Yep.
Yep.
Good. Good. Snake Umbro, Woodcutter's Grit. Okay. So that leaves us with 17. Um, and maybe we can just leave it at that for now because the rest of it's pretty bad, right? Like that Fortitude, the Snake Umbra, Jerail's Favor, those are like 4 mana. They're really spendy. Um, that seems probably too rich for our liking. Okay. Um,
Another one I was looking at that just popped up was Carapace. Uh, it's a 1 mana aura. Enchanted creature gets +0/+2, and you can sacrifice it to regenerate enchanted creature.
oh,
So it's something. It's sort of like a welding jar
we like
almost. It
that.
just like hangs out in play. Yeah,
Yeah, we
I think
definitely like
that's.
that.
I think that's a decent one.
Oh yeah, good catch. It's funny that the regenerate didn't come up in my search. That's
Hmm.
really weird. Huh. Um, There's a black creature that does something similar to that too. Oh, because I looked up instant.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, that's why. Yeah, we have like Savage, Silhouette, or Regeneration. Regeneration is close. You know,
Hmm.
Trollhide also gives +2/+2. So if you look at Trollhide as like a pump spell that also happens to protect, it starts to look kind of interesting. 2 mana to
Yep.
protect it is not great, but this is infinitely better than like the dedicated protection spells that don't have pump. Because I'm happy running this card out there just to give +2/+2, right?
Sure. Yeah, it speeds up our clock.
Yeah, I'm open to that one. Regeneration is another one. 2 mana sorcery speed. You can pay 1 to regenerate. This one doesn't have any pump on it at all, though, so it's a pretty bad protection spell. Um,
It's true.
Savage
Yeah.
Silhouette is the same thing as Trollhide. Interesting. Same card.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's throw them both in. Um,
Yeah.
Question is, are we happier with, Serpent Skin is actually quite a bit better. Well, this one's got Flash, and
Hmm.
it's only 1 to regenerate. So the way we're looking at this with Silhouette is we're saying this is just a pump spell that can regenerate in a pinch, whereas the Serpent Skin is saying this is more of a protection spell um, that's expensive that also pumps. Hmm.
Yeah. So I like. Okay. Two things in favor of Serpent Skin. Uh,
Flash, man.
1 mana to regenerate, I think, is really good. Also, being able to um, hold up interaction, and you know the player that you're worried that's going to try and kill our Rhino taps out. End of their turn, Flash and Serpent Skin. We draw our card, untap. It's our turn. Now we've got protection.
Yep.
We didn't have to. We're not playing at sorcery speed like we are with
Yeah.
Silhouette or Trollhide.
Maybe we just keep
Kind of,
Serpent
kind
Skin
of
and
like
cut
that.
these, like,
I can see that. Yeah.
because it's kind of like it is pumping as well, but it's instant speed, and that's really big. Maybe that's where the
Yeah.
Jerail's Favor also comes in. Is it's just an instant speed thing that we can do. Maybe during our turn we don't do very much. We just maybe smack somebody, we draw some cards, and then we've got a bunch of mana up, and we can just cast this at instant speed, draw a card, and then we just have this sort of like protection available to us. Um, but we'll leave that in
Hmm.
considering for now. I think we're going to have other cards that we're going to be fairly premium here as well. We're
For
going to
sure.
get the Carapace under protection here. Carapace also gives a toughness boost, which is quite nice.
Yep.
Okay, so 53 cards. So we're looking at having room for another like 12, probably 33 total lands, maybe 32. Because we're going to have we don't have any ramp yet. And this is where we're going to get pinched. So let's go into the ramp because that's going to be a really important category
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
Arbor Elf, obviously.
Yes.
Basically, all the 1 mana stuff is going to
Definitely.
be the really important. So
Yep.
Llanowar Elves. Quirion Ranger is a little awkward in that like it only works with other dorks, and it's like setting us back on lands.
Uh-huh. It can also um it also gives pseudo vigilance to our commander though,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
which uh I've been playing with this card
That's a big
for
deal. That's
yeah.
yeah, we want
God, I don't
this.
know how long I've been playing with Quirion Ranger, but I'll still sometimes get blown out. Someone will have a Quirion Ranger and I'll attack into him and they'll be like, untap my big thing. It's
Yep.
like, oh no, you got me again with this
Yeah.
like 25-year-old trick.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it still happens.
I think that
Uh,
that one giving vigilance while also being a lot more than one mana, because if we have an untapper, then we're actually
mhm.
untapping a creature that's going to untap a lot more mana than
Yes.
right if we have auras in play. Um,
Yeah.
the vigilance
Quirion
is
Ranger
powerful.
is
Yeah,
is a very gross card.
we want that
Yeah.
one for sure. Urban
Lots of
burgeoning,
things.
it's broken in this deck. Um,
Mhm.
Untapping our lands with auras on them. Utopia Sprawl and Wild Growth are going to be great here.
Right.
And
Yep.
Fertile Ground, I think, being the 2 mana version of that. We're going to have lots of elves as ramp. So I think Priest of Titania is good. But, you know, when we look at our ramp package, we might, you know, when you're in mono green, you have to really think about the ramp package um, in terms of what theme are you going for, because you can go into defenders, you can go into elves, you can go into untapping with auras. It really just depends on what your priorities are.
Yes.
Um,
Uh-huh, for sure.
there's also the power based ones like Elysian, Caryatid, and Whisper of the Wilds, which both,
I think those are great. Yep.
yeah, they're really good here. We want those. So it's not going to be dissimilar from Goreclaw in that way. Devoted Druid can make more than 1 mana in a turn at its own expense, which seems
Yep.
premium in a pinch.
Yep. Also a thing to note that if we have a spare thing to put a +1/+1 counter on Devoted Druid, we
Oh
can
yeah,
knock that -1/-1 counter off. So
yep.
that is a thing that can happen.
Sculptor of Winter allowing us to untap our aura lands. We've got Ulvenwald Captive, which I'm a pretty big fan of.
Mhm.
However, this is neither an untapper that could make potentially more mana, nor is it an elf. It just has this mana sink that can turn it into a reasonable creature. Um, so, not really sure about that one. Voyaging
Yeah.
Satyr. And then I also had Arcane Signet here because it is like a ramp sort of. If we're just thinking about like what is our fastest ramp that we can do, it's going to be the
Mhm.
1 mana um, type stuff followed by 2 mana. And Arcane Signet being an untapped source makes it somewhat better than some of the other 2 mana options like the Ulvenwald Captive. Um,
Yep.
Especially because we're not relying on Lead the Stampede, Winding Way, or other stuff like that, you know, um,
Right.
to get us there.
Yeah.
So we could do
Yeah.
that one.
I yeah, I think so. I really love the 1 mana ones, and I love the 2 mana ones too because our commander costs 4.
Yep,
So,
two is
play
perfectly
a
fine.
2 mana guy on 2, untap, we can play our commander on 3 that way.
Yep.
Um, the things that cost 3 are where I think we need to either consider or maybe cut those. Um, like Elvish Visionaries draws a card though, so maybe not that one. But some of the ones that are like land, but we've got so many untappers too. So this is the trouble. This is
Yep.
the trouble where what it is that we have to cut here.
Yeah,
Like
the
so
untapping
the
is
idea,
working with like what 4 cards maybe, um,
yeah,
but they're also the fastest sources of ramp that you can get. Um,
it's true.
so it's tempting to like lean heavier into them, but maybe it's okay that it just generally maybe Arbor Elf is mainly just is just another Elvish mystic that
Mhm.
sometimes does more, a lot more, right?
Yeah, I think that's probably okay. Um, so I think it is the goal of the deck to get Rhino out in play on turn 3 as often as possible, or is it something where we can afford to like play our overgrowths, play our new horizons, things like that,
Yep.
and really wait until turn 5 or more, play Rhino, have mana up to protect Rhino,
Yeah.
things like that. Like, what is the play pattern that we're most looking
Right.
for?
I think that's a really important question that we need to be like super clear on is like what's the speed that we're working on here? And
Mhm.
I think that it would be um, a mistake for us to run it out without protection
I agree with that.
because it's such a core axis of our deck. So I think the answer to that is actually a little bit slower, right? Because we could, you know, like most of it, like you can get it out as early as turn 2. You can go turn 1 Arbor
Sure.
Elf, turn 2 Wild Growth or Utopia Sprawl, turn 3 Rhino. If somebody kills it, then we're really behind. And
Yes.
um, I think that then what we're looking at is um, yeah. So I think we're fine with cards like Overgrowth. It's just going to be a question of how many slots we allocate towards something like
Yeah.
this. Overgrowth is so much mana. This is a massive increase in our action economy. I think I like it. Elvish Guidance is the same way. This is
Hmm.
going to be probably producing a shitload of mana. New
Yeah.
Horizons, you know, has the ability to, you know, pump up a creature, which is why it was kind of here in the first place. I also had Nature's Embrace. I wanted to ask you about this one. This one can be a ramp spell or it can be a pump, which
Mhm.
seems really nice, the flexibility, right?
Yeah. Um, I think so. Depending on how many cards we run that care about +1/+1 counters, I would maybe run one of New Horizons or Nature's Embrace.
Yeah.
And if we're leaning into the +1/+1 counters, obviously New Horizons is better with that. But Nature's Embrace is not. Both modes are perfectly
Yeah,
serviceable
they
here,
are.
right? Yeah.
Okay.
So
We're also at 20 ramp spells, I believe, so we don't necessarily need to go into any of these.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not sure about Springleaf Drum, Seeker of Skybreak. Also, maybe not. I would maybe, yeah, I would maybe just kind of put a pin in all of these
Yeah, I
and
think these are
like
all
we'll think
like
about it, but like they're not as good as the ones we have.
yeah, yeah. And I think that because of that and because the slots are already tight, that's perfectly fine. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be um, like we don't need to reach for more of them like we did with some of the other effects, like the protection and maybe some of the removal. Somebody mentioned here Croson Restorer. Croson Restorer is fine. It's also 3 mana, and I think that if we're balancing these effects here, only time we're going to play 3 mana is for something like an Overgrowth or a Guidance that is going to be like a massive ramp spell. Um, Croson Restorer takes Threshold. Is that correct? To untap all of your
Threshold
lands.
and untaps 3 lands. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. We'll probably get Threshold, so that's good. It is also an elf, I believe. But like all 3 of these 3 mana spells here are, and I guess Croson Restorer does fit into that category. And if we're going slower, then maybe we do shoot high. Is there anything in here that we think is suboptimal?
Um, I'm not sure
Like
that
these are always going to produce
the
2 on 2 mana,
yeah
which is really
the
good.
yeah hmm yeah the ceiling on Croson Restore is really high.
Yeah, it's
Like
nuts. That's like a
it
lot.
it's a lot of mana. It's a lot of mana, but the floor of costing 3 and only untapping 1 land, and like we're not always going to have a Utopia Sprawl or a Wild Growth to um make our thing. to have the restore like really pop off. So I'm not sure what I would run restore over. It's a good suggestion. Um,
But we have 20 of them so far. So the question is
we
kind
do
of
have
like,
a lot of ramp already.
right.
Yes.
And if we were to cut something for Croson Restorer, it would be Rhyme Tender or Sculptor. No, it wouldn't be either of those. Those are tutus. It'd be Voyaging Satyr. Or maybe
Yeah.
Devoted Druid. I mean, actually, Devoted Druid would be maybe the cut because Devoted Druid doesn't work with the Aura Plan. And the Aura Plan is actually a sub theme of the deck because of Ancestral Mask. So there is like an incentive to focus on elves, ones that make 2 mana, and ones that work with lands untapping, right? There's like a variety of things there. So maybe let's try the Restorer and we'll cut the Devoted Druid because we have a lot of 2s and 1s here. This is kind of like what I've done in the past is I focus on in ramp. I try to have like if I'm doing a big mana deck, then I'll have like 10 2s, 5 3s, and then like 3 4s, right? So you want to have that scale up nicely where most of the time you're going to go like a 2 into a 4 or a 2 into a 3 into a 2 or something like that. Um, so that kind of thing. So let's do that and let's get
Okay.
Croson Restorer in there.
Okay. I just looked it up. Croson Restorer is a human, unfortunately. Does that change
Oh,
things? It's a human druid.
it does. It does change things. How big is his body? Is it a 1/1?
1/2.
I don't love it anymore. I mean, it does have the big upside regardless.
Yeah,
We're, yeah.
if it's not pumping our elvish guidance, how many let's take a look here. How many elves
One,
are
two,
we
three. Well, actually, we
running?
can look here. 8
Yeah, it looks like
elves.
eight eight elves total.
So interesting. So Elvish Guidance has the potential to not be that good either.
That's true.
Like it could be nothing.
It could very much be nothing. Elvish guidance does count every elf in play. So if we're playing
Oh,
against somebody else who has elves,
yeah.
that's a thing, but it could still be nothing.
It could be
We could
nothing.
just it could be nothing. And that's
Uh,
not something I want to necessarily pay 3 mana for.
yeah.
Um,
This is actually worse than the Restorer because it could potentially be nothing. Whereas the Restorer
yeah.
will always untap a land. So let's bonk
hmm
that one. That brings us to 17 ramp spells with Scale the Height would be an 18. Scale the Height may
Sure.
not always put a land into play. I'm actually tempted to remove this tag just because it won't always be consistent. 17 is
hmm
a good number to get us to our commander. Maybe turn 4 with protection is what we're looking for.
Yes.
Um,
Absolutely.
70 cards currently. Our removal is probably going to have to go down a bit. So let's do that now just because I'm anticipating that we're going to run up against that problem. So the 3 mana stuff at instant speed probably goes, right? It's the least efficient. So
I
like
think so.
ambuscade and clear shot, that gets us to
Ambuscade,
20.
your shot. Yep.
Okay, that's a great start. That means all of our removal except for like finishing move and alluring scent, which is a board wipe, and Shinins, which is a board wipe. So
Yeah.
that's a good one there. Okay. Oh, there's a bit more
Yeah.
ramp that I hadn't seen in sideboard, which is Arboreal Grazer, and then
I've
Leafkin Druid.
let's see.
Leafkin adds
Uh,
2 instead of 1 if there are 4 or more creatures that you control, which is kind of a hard. I mean, we only have 15 creatures in the deck currently.
yeah. That's not going to come up very often.
No, not very often at all. Hmm. Oh, this is
So
important tracker. Okay. Oh, interesting. We
we
didn't
should
get Mage's Duel either. Costs 2 less to cast if you've cast another green instant or another instant or sorcery this turn. and then it's a 1 mana sorcery. Target creature gets +0, +1, +2. Then it fights, but that's not really a 1 mana fight spell. It has to have another spell. Alex says, "I'm not
It's
gonna
true.
lie. This deck is so outside my wheelhouse. I have nothing to add. That's totally fine." Yeah. There's other ramp spells here that I hadn't, you know, that we haven't talked about either, like Careful Cultivation, which is +1, +3, has reach, and has tap to add 2 mana. So this one can make our commander
Yeah,
into a tapping thing, but it's that's not what we're doing, right? Like we're
that's not really what
attacking.
we're doing,
Yeah.
right?
This one adds a monster roll token, the Curse of the Werefox. Um, there's also Fertilid's Favor is another ramp spell, which is you search a library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, put 2+1/+1 counters on up to one target artifact or creature. So a pump spell and a ramp spell, but ramp at 4 mana is always kind of an
Ramp
awkward
at
vibe.
4 mana. Yeah,
It is an
it
instant.
is. It is
That's
an
a big
instant.
deal.
Um,
This is
yeah, I feel like I feel like if we were playing this, we'd want to play Dreadlenorm instead,
oh
just
right.
because, like it, and we're not playing Dreadlenorm because it costs
No.
too much.
Yeah.
So, um,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Fair enough. Um, okay. Good. Good. So I think that we've covered most of the ground there. What did you think about the Arboreal Grazer? It's another
I've
potential one
never
mana
been.
ramp.
It is, but it's also like a potential 1 mana
Nothing
not
burger.
ram. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would much rather stick with the things that are definitely going to ramp us than like I don't know. Because even if it does ramp us by one, like we don't necessarily have as much to do with that mana. Like we put a land in our hand on turn one. So now it's turn two. We've got 3 lands in play, but like how many lands did we keep? And
Right.
like I don't know.
That's the big
There's always
problem.
it's always been a little bit of a questionable card for me
Yeah.
in things that aren't like Amulet Titan or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
This card is great
Yeah.
in some of the builds of Tatiova that I've been exploring lately,
Oh
because you
sure.
always have so many lands, right? And there's some decks that really just have a ton because they're land based,
Absolutely.
like a Maja or a Maya. Brett Guard Protector might play something like this. Um,
Sure.
Tatiova. But yeah, I think I agree with you on that too. I think our ramp is pretty well set. We've got a pretty good number of them. Let's get our lands into the deck too. The I have 27 forests here. Generascent seems pretty free. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I do love generous and um especially if um I mean we could run gingerbread cabin. That seems
Yeah,
also fairly free and like
yeah,
a thing we can tutor for with the end.
yeah. Um, and then Cave of Temptation and Opal Palace. Opal Palace strikes me as a card that's like playing to this outcome where we lose our commander. And I think that
Mhm.
the idea is that we don't do that, right? So, like Cave of Temptation could be fine. We have to be careful about playing too many colorless type stuff so that we don't like mess up our opening hands.
Right. The thing about Cave of Temptation that I worry about, again, it's sorcery speed for 2 counters
That's
and 4 mana,
expensive. It's
five
five.
because we're sacrificing the
Yeah.
cave. And it's a non-forest for Utopia Sprawl.
Yep. And it
Like
doesn't
that's
trigger our commander. So maybe we don't play
right.
that then.
I would run a basic over it, I think.
Yep. One thing I forgot to mention too was Blinding Fog. This is another one of the protection spells that we had available here. It's a fog, but it's also giving hexproof to everything. It doesn't target, so we don't draw a card.
Hmm.
Hexproof to everything isn't really what it's there for. It's like hexproof for our commander. Um, but it
Right.
is 3 mana. It's not combat damage, so it does stop something like you know, like a Crypt Rats players should be activating their Crypt Rats in increments in a lot of cases for this kind of. Well, it
Sure.
would stop that actually.
Uh, yeah, I mean it does. It protects our mana dorks from like a fiery cannonade.
Yep. Fire Cannonade, Electrickery, um, Breath Weapon.
Yep.
It's not helping
It's
against Arms of Hadar or Drown in Sorrow. Um,
right.
it feels not good enough to me. Is kind of what I'm
I
seeing
I
here.
agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I think it's close, but
very close.
think I don't think it's quite there.
Yep. Spore Cloud and Tangle. Okay, so these are cards I frequently have trouble finding room for, but they're also cards that every time they're played, the game ends for somebody. Um,
Yes.
these are game ending spells in a format where combat damage is so important, Tangle being the best of them. Spore Cloud reads weird, but there's ways to play around this so that you aren't punished. It says tap all
Mhm.
blocking creatures. So what this says to me is I need to cast this before blocks.
Uh-huh.
And
Yep.
then once I do that, it's not going to tap my blocking creatures. So prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. Each attacking creature and each blocking creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So the idea is that you cast this. If it resolves, then you don't need to block,
Yep.
right? If it doesn't resolve because somebody counters it, then you block and you do what you need to do, right? So this is
Yeah.
copy number 2 of Tangle because they don't untap. And Tangle is
Uh-huh.
so busted,
Yes.
this does weird things to games where like somebody is suddenly like opened up for attack and people just kind of get cruel and opportunistic for like
Yeah.
reasons. You know what I mean? Like you just get
Yeah.
destroyed.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Get your shots in while you can.
Yep, exactly. So I think both of these strike me as we want to have them, but I just don't know. Um, yeah, we're gonna have to figure out how to find room for all this too. Okay, so ramp is
Yes.
good, removal is good, protection is good. Um, oh, whip silk. Oh yeah, we definitely want that.
Yeah. Whip Silk is definitely a sweet engine.
Yep. Um, Then we have like some of the adventure cards. Ferocious Werefox is one of them. We have some Soul Bond stuff. Um, Ferocious Werefox is 2 mana. Create a roll token. It has to target to create a roll token. So that does draw us a card. It is 2 mana +1/+1 draw a card. But it's nowhere near the other ones, which are 2 mana draw 2, do something. And then it has, instead of drawing that extra card, it has a 4 mana 4/3 trample, which I just don't think we care about that.
Not as much. No.
Yeah, all this stuff is pretty bad here. We have Forced Adaptation, purely a pump spell. It's going to get a +1/+1 counter every turn. Rancor is ironically like not that good in this deck, is it? Like, if we're not casting our commander again, then like,
Yeah. It feels weird because like it's Rancor and
it's
that's just kind
so
of a
good.
it's such a good card, but we already have trample. The +2 isn't nothing for 1 mana. It's like a bone splitter that sticks around.
Yep.
But it's not like we're sacrificing the Rancor to rebuy it to recast it and draw more cards.
No.
You know, it's not like Whipsilk. We're not sacking it. We're returning it to our hand, but like that's an actual engine that we can build around.
Yeah.
Rancor is not that in this
No.
deck.
Lignify is also weird because it's not drawing us a card. It's giving them a big blocker. It's just bad. Talons is pretty bad too, because the trample isn't relevant here. Usually you play this in like Satyr Enchanter because you can put it on something, make it relevant. Eventually they have to kill it. You get it back, cast it again. It's nice that
Sure.
way. Elephant Guide also sort of assumes that our commander, the creature that you're putting it on, is going to die. And I think with Gnarlback, we don't want that to happen. It's okay if it does. I think we're going to have a lot of cards and we'll be able to rebuild, but This is just +3/+3 for 3 mana. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Flourishing Strike, Sylvan Might. Oh, Invigorate. Oh, well. Invigorate is really good
I
because it's a
do like Invigorate a
free
lot.
draw
Yep.
spell.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think.
Free draw spell. Um, also doesn't care about commander damage.
Yeah,
Um,
it's everything we want.
you can gain your 3 life, and I'm still gonna kill you. So
Yeah, yeah, um, definitely. Um, Good. Okay, I'm glad that we found that one. We have Haunted Cloak and Howl of the Hunt, and these ones here are both for the Vigilance
mhm.
because that is somewhat important. This one gives Vigilance and Haste. The Trample doesn't matter. The Haste doesn't matter. It's just Vigilance. This is 4 mana Vigilance for that doesn't draw us a card. Probably not good. Howl of the Hunt,
Don't
though,
don't
this
love it.
does have Flash. This seems very
Yes,
good.
I do like Howl of the Hunt. Yeah, it's not like the werewolf tax doesn't matter,
Hmm.
but a +2/+2 pump spell that is sometimes going to maybe save our
Oh,
Rhino in combat, protect against heated debate.
oh, so it doesn't untap, but it does give it Vigilance.
It does have vigilance, and it is something we can do at the end of somebody's
Yep.
turn too.
Yeah, I
Like,
like that. Yeah,
yeah,
that's pretty cool. All right, let's scroll down here. We've got Rofello's Gift, which allows us to return enchantments by revealing our hand. This again is playing into the world where we don't have our commander, and then we need to
right.
like get a bunch of stuff back that fell off of it. Don't love that.
I
Um,
will say that Raphaelus's gift is a very sweet card.
this is a
That
nuts. This is
is,
a massive card advantage spell.
yeah, it's definitely going deep, and not enough. There aren't too many decks that can really take advantage of it, including
Yeah,
this one. But
yeah, yeah,
sweet card. Glad you pulled it out.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely interesting, but you would have to build this deck really differently. Hunter's Maze, probably not, because again, drawing cards isn't our problem, right? Like, we're playing this
Correct.
card in the
Yep.
command zone because it's a busted card advantage engine. Um, so
Yes.
we've got a pretty good list here. What do you think about anything else that does stickers? The stickers all seemed very good, but 5 mana good? 5 mana with a 5/4 good?
I
I don't
don't
know.
know that I don't know that we necessarily need to run Stilt Strider in this deck. I think just running finishing move and the sticker package, and sometimes we don't draw a finishing move and we don't
That's
have
fine.
anything with the stickers. That's fine. Um, the games that we do draw it are going to be kind of nuts,
Yeah, yeah,
but
genuinely.
I don't think we need to go. I don't think we need to go so deep that we play Stilt Strider as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. And there's really nothing else that would interest us because it's the the 2 tickets that we really want. One ticket
Exactly.
doesn't do
Yep.
anything for us.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
okay, so we're 103, and we're actually looking like we're doing a pretty good job here. Our mana sources, we probably want. I did add Colony Garden just as more edict fodder.
Yep.
Um,
I like that.
okay.
I think that's a good one.
We're probably going to need 32 lands at the minimum, maybe more. Our ramp is very cheap in this deck, so 32 would not be unreasonable because once we do get our commander out, then we're going to start to draw all of our lands. We're going to be totally fine on lands. We'll get there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is
We are kind of on the Xerox plan.
Yeah, it is. It's a Xerox deck, exactly. Much in the same way that Sailor's Bane is, except the Xerox happens after we get our commander in play, whereas Sailor Bane, it's happening before.
Correct.
Um,
Yeah.
so pump here, only 12 of them. Although that doesn't, that does actually take into account of those. It's not a ton. Um, and a lot of these are reactive, like protection spells.
Yeah.
That is somewhat
That's
concerning.
true. I wonder if let's see. I wonder if there's something like Aspect of Hydra that we could throw in.
Yeah, well, there's
Um,
Nylea's Huntmaster and Aspect of Hydra, which both are going to be pretty game-ending cards, right? Um,
mhm. Yeah.
just massive, massive buff. Oh, Ancestral
Mhm.
Mask needs to be in the deck. Aspect of Hydra probably should be in the deck, right?
I think so.
In what world
Yeah.
would we
Let
not run
me
it, right? Like,
Yeah, it seems to do most of the things that we want it to do, right?
yep.
Um Ancestral Mask
How many
is a great
auras?
card, but
$12.
we've got 12 including the Ancestral Mask, right? And Ancestral Mask doesn't count itself.
But it counts everybody else's stuff, and I think
It does count everybody else's, and that is that
yeah.
is huge.
I think that'll
If we're
make it
playing against
playable.
Wretched or whatever.
If it
Yeah.
weren't for that case, and really, it's like it's counting all the enchantments in play, isn't it? So
Yeah, every
other
other
enchantment.
enchantment. Yep.
Yep. So this is
Yep.
gonna have other enchantments, like, and if it doesn't, like, well, I don't know. We'll probably have one of our own. There's a world where it could be very very bad, but I think that world is very uncommon. I think that most of the time this will be a pretty big buff, like +6/+6 or something.
Hmm. Yeah, I can see that. Uh,
And then what did you think about the 4 mana Nylea's Huntmaster? It's like a bad aspect of the Hydra that comes with a body.
um,
It is game
Let me
ending,
take a look at this guy. Yeah.
right?
It
If we
could definitely be game ending for somebody.
Yeah, for
Um,
one player is going to get hit with like a +8/+8, maybe like the Huntmaster, the Commander, that's 3. If you just have the Huntmaster and the Commander, that's 3. If you have like an aura and then a ramp creature, that's like 5. Um, and then you've got some auras on your Commander. Um, well, it's not a ton of auras on the Commander.
it's true.
So
Yeah,
maybe
I'm
it's
just looking
not
at
actually
our
that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at our permanents, and like we've got Generous End, which we're probably cycling.
Yep.
We've got Shinnin of Lice Roar, which we don't really want in play.
Nope.
Um,
I think Huntmaster
yeah,
doesn't make the cut, but Aspect does because Aspect is a quarter of the mana and it draws a card.
and it draws a card.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I think that sounds good, and it's an instant. Like you can surprise somebody
Yeah.
with it. So
hmm
yeah.
Now, are there any other really efficient pump spells that we could be playing that are like 1 or 2 mana +4/+4? There's let's see if we can find O colon +4/+4 and just see what comes up here. There's the 2 mana sorcery speed +4/+4 and trample. There's Gift of Growth needs to be kicked. If you have 4 or more creatures +4/+4, oh my god, for the family, if you could hit the 1 mana +4/+4 draw card, you'd have to have 4 creatures, right? That's not gonna
That's
happen.
not likely. Yeah.
No. Ferocious Charge
Um,
though, +4/+4 scry 2 draw a card. It's not.
there's what is it? Groundswell,
Yeah,
the one that
Groundswell. We want that.
the landfall one.
Oh,
Yeah.
Might of Old Corrosa. Yep. +4/+4 if it's in your main phase, which is basically the same thing as Groundswell. Um,
Yep.
Mammoth Growth. Huh. I don't hate that.
Oh, it's +4/+4, but you can foretell it. Hmm. It's big. I worry about like just thinking of like the play pattern. Like when are we gonna have mana to foretell it?
Yeah.
When we could also just like
Cast a 2 mana one, like a Titanic Growth.
yeah,
Like this
exactly.
this one here actually looks pretty good. Titanic Growth being +4/+4 instant speed. We already have trample. I
Yep.
kind of like that. We have a bunch of sorcery speed spells that can do that too, like larger than life. Although what you pay for with larger than life is that you're paying for the trample, which we don't need. Um, Maybe we don't want a ton of these. Really, like Might of Old Corrosa, Groundswell, Invigorate, um, Vines, of course, Titanic Growth, instant speed being pretty important here. There's also like
Hmm.
wielding the Green Dragon, which, wow, in its day, this was like a massive pump spell. 2 mana for +4/+4 is like, people are
Yeah.
probably playing Giant Growth, but like,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Okay, cool. Well, that's a nice tidy package of pump spells. Um,
Yep.
put these under pump. And the reason I'm still adding cards, even though we're at 110, is that we have areas that we can cut from, like potentially removal, um,
Hmm.
maybe from draw, um, maybe. Although everything here is pretty good, like reality anchor, having nothing. Now
Yeah.
provoke
Just
here. This isn't a draw spell.
correct. Yeah. It's not going to draw us a card, except for it cantrips itself.
It can't. It's just a
But
removal spell.
yes, it's potentially a very good removal spell, but it is something that does require stuff to go a little bit right for us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay. That seems fine. Again, this is the same idea. Like, do you play Vampire Spawn in Rona? Yes, because it says 3 mana, make a 2/3, drain your opponent twice. It's like 2 instants and sorceries on a 2/3 for 3 mana is like perfectly fine in that deck.
yeah.
And this is kind of the same
Mhm.
idea, right? We're drawing a card and we're killing something. Well, what do these other things do? They draw a card and they kill something, except that Provoke has some additional modes on it that we might be able to take advantage of, killing 2 creatures at once. Elvish Fury, somebody mentioned, which is the buyback spell.
The buyback one. Yep.
Um, I love the art on this card, by the way. Um, but what do you think?
So
5. This is like worse
so
than
this is this
Monstrify.
is it is an instant though,
Yep,
and
it
it
is instant.
is so this would basically be our Whispers of the Muse.
Yeah, that's what it is, right?
Like
It's exactly that.
do we want to do we want Whispers of the Muse in this deck where we can just keep every turn, 5 mana draw a card, 5 mana draw a
It's
card.
like Monarch,
Um
but we have to do it every
yeah,
time. Hmm.
but we have to do it every time. We can do it on somebody's end step or somebody else's turn. We can leave up mana, and if nothing else happens, we can Elvish Fury.
Yep, and if we're nervous, we
Is
just pay 1.
correct. Um, is that the play pattern of the deck, or is that
I,
something
boy, this is a lot of
that
mana. It's a lot of mana.
it is a lot, and it does require us to have our commander in play, which is again something that we are hoping to have all the
Yes,
time.
this is the
Um,
goal. Yeah.
the goal is to
Um,
have the commander all the time. I don't know. It's to me it feels a little bit too expensive,
yeah.
but
Depends on how much mana we're making.
yeah.
In builds like this that I've played with like Goreclaw, similar
Mhm.
land count, similar number of ramp spells. Main difference in Goreclaw is that you don't draw cards, and in this one we do. So in that case, like you tend to make quite a bit of mana, but like not always. Just depends on our draws. I think we can leave it behind for now because we have a lot of really good other stuff. Um, what about so is permanent O draw O enter? Let's just see what other. How do we search for something that has an activated ability? It's O colon parenthesis or like that. Yeah, there we go. So we have abundant growth, alchemist vial, candy trail. Um, I was just looking at that wedding invitation and wondering if there was anything else that did something relevant while drawing a card.
Mhm. Um,
Not really.
I mean, Alchemist File isn't bad. The trouble with these effects is that
Yeah, these are all bad.
the cards, yeah, the trouble with the cards are that they don't have something super powerful going on with them, right?
Which is, yeah,
Like
wedding invitations insane, unblockable.
Wedding
Like,
Invitation is great. Yeah.
yeah,
That's the best of them for sure. Um I don't hate Alchemist File. I've played it before. Lembus isn't bad, but like that's not really what we're doing.
we've got better card advantage, and these cards are like when you're a combo deck that wants to dig towards its win condition fairly inexpensively while also gaining some life. You play these, or if you're in colors that don't draw cards. Um,
Yeah.
but we're in colors that don't draw cards with a commander that draws a ton of cards. So
Correct.
yeah, what
Yep.
about Whisper Silk Cloak? That's another one I hadn't thought about.
So the trouble with Whisper Silk Cloak is that it gives Shroud, and that means we can't target it with any of our things that are going to draw cards or our removal spells.
Yeah.
Um, so like, I mean, I love a Whisper Silk Cloak. I think that card is so cracked in this format, but this is maybe not the deck for it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Just because everything else that we do involves targeting our commander, and we
Yeah.
can't take that away, unfortunately.
Right.
So
Oh, yeah. That was a very smooth brain idea. I just realized the problem with that. It turns off our deck. Does not work. Okay, good. Good. I'm glad that that I'm now on the same page as you are. Um, we need to cut 10 cards. I think we're almost there in terms of the final
yeah,
numbers. Um,
yep.
and I think it probably looks like 2 removal spells. Maybe it's um, hmm. Finishing move is just so, the stickers are so good. All of them are so good. Like,
Yeah.
the way to look at this is take your favorite 3, and then assume that one of them will be there every time because
Mhm.
it's 33%, right? Like you got 3 of the 10 is a way to look at it. So if we said
Mhm.
double prowess, lifelink, like I mean, there's a
Like the
lot more
heroic
than
one,
3.
heroic, the death touch one. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
like the heroic, the double prowess, the lifelink, even this plus X one is gonna draw us a lot of cards, or is gonna give a big pump, and the ward too. I mean, there's like half of these are really really good, and we actively
yeah.
want them, and so this is going to always give us something very very good. So we
Mhm.
don't cut that. What about
Yeah.
Shinnin? What do you think about this? 4 mana. Hmm.
So
I don't imagine we
I was
cut
just
that,
thinking
right?
about I was just thinking about Shinnin and Alluring Scent. Um, good with, you know, good if there's things that we can kill with our 4/4, but there are also ways around it. Like, say we're facing a Gretchen player or
Yeah, tap their
a
creature.
Tatiova player. They can just tap their mana dorks, tap the thing that puts a land into play. They don't have to block with them. Shannon is good because you can use it on other people's combat, which is messed up. It's just instant speed.
Oh God.
Yeah, now your whole team has to block that Dargo. Um,
Uh.
love love that about Shannon. Um,
Okay.
so I would maybe keep one of them, and maybe Alluring Sense is the
The
one that
the funny
goes.
thing is that this one draws a card and this one does not.
That's
So they're
true.
both
Well,
pretty good. So maybe
yeah,
there's something that isn't um like hmm like what would be the worst of these? Like Duel for Dominance is a fight spell that sometimes put a +1/+1 counter on it, but like not consistently.
yeah. I
But it
think
is instant.
like like Pounce is Pounce is just an instant speed 2-mana fight. So
Right.
I think we would want to, um,
Same with Ancient Animus.
yeah. So maybe one of those, maybe Mutant's Prey, because we're not guaranteed to always have a +1/+1 counter. Um,
Oh, right.
like
And we did
we
add
have a
the,
few ways.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
we have a few ways, but like maybe Mutant's Prey is the one, just because sometimes it will be dead, and we're trying to cut down on the cards that are going to be dead.
Right. Hmm. And we have like Warbriar's Blessing. I don't know if the toughness is actually that good here because our commander doesn't die to damage based stuff. Not really.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorcery
the
speed
one thing I can, the one thing I can think of is like Heated Debate,
or
and that
Magmatic
one,
Sinkhole or
or Sinkhole. Yeah, that's
um,
true.
there's a
Um,
couple, but they're just
Harvest
not.
Pyre, I guess,
Yeah, Harvest
but they're
Pyre,
not as
Scred,
they're not things that see as much play.
Galvanic
Yeah,
Blast. I mean, but again, these are all assuming that our commander has no like extra buffs on it, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I think this one strikes me as the least appealing of
I
these.
I can see that.
It's also an aura though, and maybe the toughness is better than I'm giving it credit for. Mutant's Prey, definitely, I could see the rationale around that. Although these 1 mana ones are really premium, so it's like when this is on. But yeah, if it's
Oh,
not on,
when
it's
it's on,
awful.
it's great, but when it's not on, it's nothing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we got to cut
that's
that.
the trouble.
Yeah, nothing burgers are not our wheelhouse. Um,
Yeah.
so then Pounce or Ancient Animus, potentially even both. Um,
We do have a bunch of the 2-mana bite spells, which I like a lot.
I like those
So
a lot
maybe,
more. The bite is so much better than fight.
yeah. So yeah, maybe let's shave one of those, and then we'll see
Yep,
if there's other things that
18's a
we
good
take.
number to
Yeah.
rest at. I don't think we want to go too much lower than that, given that we are a control deck. I don't think we touch our ramp. This is the same number as I ran in Goreclaw. Um,
Uh-huh.
so that feels good. Pump, a
Yep.
lot of this stuff is accidental. We're getting a little bit of pump from something else, so we won't be able to cut a lot of these. Titanic Growth
Mhm.
could go. It's only a pump spell. Um,
I could see that.
yeah, let's do that. It is good, but yeah. Um, Protection, pretty loath to cut any of this. Um,
Yeah. The one thing I would think about is maybe regenerate, because we have 1-mana versions of this card.
yep.
Um, and like
Yeah.
it's
What
not
about
bad, but
Refresh?
we do have. Yeah, refresh may go too. Um,
Yeah, maybe it's
again,
just
it's
not.
one of those things that like it is that quick study thing again. Like
Hmm.
it's not a bad card, but like it's
Perfectly
also kind
reasonable.
of like 101st,
Hmm.
102nd
Hmm.
card.
Yep.
You know, it's always I keep putting that card in decks, and then like it somehow finds its way out right at the end, and that
Yep.
just might be where we're at with refresh.
I think that Regenerate and Refresh. Let's just take a stab at it like that.
Okay,
And actually, wait a second. Wrap and Vigor does not draw us a card.
that's true.
Um, it's saving our creatures. The fact that it doesn't draw might not be that big of a deal because if we look at this deck, like we're running 14 undercosted. Well, it's not 14 undercosted draw spells. And in fact, actually, Wedding Invitation is not a draw spell. This is like Evasion, which doesn't really have a category.
Yeah,
It's kind
it
of like
does.
Pump because they can't
Yeah,
block. So,
that's true. Yeah. Um, the thing about Rep and Vigor, thinking about it now, is that it doesn't draw us a card, but it does save multiple creatures, and
yeah,
that is sort of a
card
form of
advantage.
card advantage. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we're using one card, but it counts as like two, maybe three protection spells sometimes.
Yeah.
and
Man, it's
I could
weird
see
doing
that
the
being
math on this,
worthwhile.
isn't it? Like with these,
It is,
like
yeah.
comparing like these cards in here, like Serpent Skin versus Refresh. One is like persistent. One, they're both instant. They both draw a card. Refresh draws two, and one gives
Mhm.
pump. One's a little bit more expensive. Like really tough trying to grok, you know, like Serpent Skin. If we have this in our opening hand, our commander is like not gonna be safe.
True.
All right, that answers that. Um, and third, let's see. I think we need to keep Refresh just because it's yeah, just because this number here, yeah, feeling a
Mhm.
little twitchy about going too much lower there.
Sure.
Um, Ramp, removal, vigilance. Man, that's the deck. It's so tight. This is where
It is, yeah.
yeah, I mean like we look at these categories here and it's like pump, ramp, protection, and draw and removal. Hmm. The vigilance stuff potentially, man, these last five are going to be brutal. Maybe
I
Spore
know.
Cloud. These,
Maybe Spore Cloud.
God, these cards are just so game ending. It feels so weird to be like,
Yeah.
this is
I
like
don't want to.
this is just good
I,
stuff.
I know we're I know we're cutting, but I think we might have overlooked Spider Umbra as
Okay.
another totem armor.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, we did.
1 mana, 1/1 reach with totem armor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That might be better than one of our other protection
I
spells.
agree. Um,
Maybe the Carapace? They do similar things.
it is. Um,
Or maybe one of the 2 mana ones.
it would be. I mean, I think it's Wrap and Vigor at that point,
Yeah.
or Refresh. It's quite a bit better than Refresh. It's 1 mana protection. It is sorcery speed, but it's also pump.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. We'll cut Refresh for that.
Okay. Yeah, I can get behind that.
Yeah, because it is occupying kind of two categories. Let's shave Spore Cloud. I hate it, but just having Tangle should be fine.
Hmm.
These are kind of like a form of vigilance, right? Like they're giving us that defensive capability.
Yeah.
But then I
And
guess,
these are
shoot.
yeah. And like one of the things to remember, which also might make it easier to make some cuts, is this is draft like 1.5,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
we can always test and play with the deck and be like, man, I really wish we had a spore cloud here. Add it right back in.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
this
yeah.
is
It doesn't need to be
so
perfect on this first attempt here. We're,
absolutely.
we're actually like really like on track for a pretty quick build, given how complex some of these decisions are here. Um,
Absolutely, yeah. So um
so let's make some
if
quicker cuts then. Would it be like Feral? No, no. What are our 3 mana draw? Three. So, oh, these are just like the cracked ones though.
yeah, yeah.
This doesn't feel like a
um
zone that we cut from.
yeah, I can see that. What if
So, wrap.
wrap? I'm also looking at Woodcutter's Grit as another 3 mana. It pumps and it protects, which are both good. Um, it does so a little bit expensively, which is not
Yeah.
as good.
And the odds of this, like, the way I see Woodcutter's Grit happening in some cases is our opponents try to kill it on their turn and we don't
Hmm.
benefit from the pump. Or
Yes.
somebody only has one kill spell and they're waiting to see whether it's coming at them. And they
Yeah.
communicate that, they ask that during our turn before we go to combat. instead of during their turn when they can cast it at sorcery speed.
Yeah.
So then, and that's what we want. We want somebody to hope that we aren't coming at them and not use their kill spell, and then we get the +3/+3. Um, but other than that, it's just 3 mana hexproof.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
hexproof is really premium.
It is for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Mosh Josh, hope you have a great day at work there, and yeah, we'll have the list published in the comments there. Thanks for coming and joining. I think we probably need to cut removal and potentially something out of pump to get there.
Yeah, I was looking at pump, and there are I think one of Groundswell or Might of Old Krosa.
Are
Like
those
they're
better
both.
than Aspect? Aspect is baseline +3/+3.
Ooh,
Like
that's true.
this is gonna probably be bigger than both of those most of the time. I think. Like a ramp creature and our commander, and then some other random thing is +4/+4. With the ability to be like a lot more.
Yeah.
Is Howl of the Hunt premium?
No. It's a good card. Like we're at the point where like they're all good cards.
They're all good. Yeah, yeah. So
I
yeah,
don't know that
we're
it's
talking like good
as
and then
defensive.
premium, being like, do we ever cut this card? No. Versus like, yes, it's great, but like we also need to get to 100.
Yeah. I think I would move Howl of the Hunt to the sideboard and like think about it for the
Yeah.
future, but also like maybe not this first draft.
What about Wedding Invitation? This is also kind of a great card that is somewhat extra because we have Trample. Yeah,
it's true. We have Trample. We can get Death Touch a couple different ways.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see Wedding Invitation going. Yep.
Good. Okay. So we're down to 101. So we probably just cut a removal spell because our categories are actually looking pretty like balanced. We have 16 protection spells, 18 pump spells. A lot of those are also protection. 17 ramp, 18 removal. So it's got to be probably from removal. So it'd be Warbriar's Blessing. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I can definitely get behind that.
So the bigger thing, and I think what you just illustrated too, is that like we know the pool of cards. We know the cards that are really, really good. We know the ones that we're excited about. And if at any point in time we find that we really feel like we're missing something, we can always go back and like shuffle things around a little bit, right? But the main point being that this build here is solid.
Yeah.
This looks very reasonable. Let's take it for a spin real quick in the playtest and see how it feels.
Yeah.
2 lands, no ramp. Oh, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say that like nothing is ever final in deck building, right? Like you can always, if you made a choice and it turns out that choice was wrong, you can go back and fix it.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason to like get too hung up at this stage.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is going to come out during playtesting.
Yep.
Like we're going to have to play against other people's decks or just goldfish it and see how that goes.
Yeah, see how the cookie crumbles, so to speak.
Yep.
This here has no ramp.
Yeah, we need some ramp. We have a lot of it.
Yep. We have a lot of, there we go. Okay. 2 lands. We need to draw another land or another ramp creature. But we have a card advantage engine, a draw 2, a game ender. This is actually pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yep, great draw.
Sculptor. There's our land. Okay, so we're not playing our commander now. We don't have protection.
That's true.
There is a world where we go Snake Umbra on Sculptor. Um,
Yep, and start drawing cards that way. That's possible.
I think I kind of like that actually. Well,
Yep,
let's
hit
well,
somebody for
Snake Umber is protection. So what if
it. It is, but it's not protection that we can use for a
right
little
away?
while, right?
Yep. So
Yeah.
let's just do
So
this.
maybe we just like start drawing cards.
Yep. Hit, draw a card. Okay. Untap, play a land. The funny thing is, what I'm noticing is that we just have the ability to like cantrip. That
Hmm.
feels pretty good. We have 5 mana currently. Um, let's just go aggressive urge on this.
Yep.
Draw a
Yep.
card. Hit. Draw a card.
Another one.
Okay, that's what we needed. All right.
And there we go. Yeah,
Yep,
we
turn
found it.
5. Okay, so now we're fine. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because they could kill this in response.
They could.
Um,
Yep.
and we play the Gnarlback Rhino. It's out. Somebody tries to kill it. We go Bombadil's Song. We're going to draw a card. And then hopefully we will untap here. And now our reign of terror begins. I think I'm tempted to get the Elysian Caryatid out because our action economy is going to be insane here with
Yeah.
this. Um,
Hmm.
so get that out. We're going to play conservatively with maybe a charge through first to
Hmm.
draw 2.
Just draw two.
Um, Praise Vengeance seems reasonable.
Hmm.
Praise Vengeance, draw 1. We have already played a land for this turn. Also tempted, yeah, by the ring, exactly. Now the tempted by the ring won't. In what world would that matter? You can't be blocked by things bigger. So, like some cases, when it's small, you wouldn't be able to be blocked by a Dargo.
Yeah. I mean, we could
Kind of.
also like make the, I don't know, the sculptor our ring bearer if there's something that we
Yeah.
can attack through. Um,
I'm
but it's usually not going to matter. Yeah,
right.
you're right.
I'm noticing here that I don't actually care that much right now if Gnarlback dies. Are you feeling the same thing?
Yeah, I mean we've got plenty of mana.
Like I would attack with
And
Sculptor here and just drop down to 2 mana for protection and draw another card and
yeah, absolutely.
hit somebody, draw another card. Like, is there a world where we just go and tap out and then recast it and have like Giga Mana? I actually kind of like that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean we've got pounce too. We can like hold up a removal
So yeah,
spell and like
turn
snipe something on
6.
the end step.
Yeah, turn 6 we probably need to do this. Yeah. So we'll go um actually, we have 3 creatures for Coven with different power.
Oh wow.
So yeah, we'll
Yeah.
Coven, put a +1/+1 counter on it, draw a card. And then I'm assuming we're untapping, but it's possible we don't, right? Upkeep, we're going to get the Praise Vengeance. We're going to draw a card. And then we'll draw a card for turn. Holy shit. Yeah, so we're going to go. Let's do this right here. Yep, like this. And then we're going to take
How much
this.
damage do we have? Is someone just dead?
Yeah, I mean, this is a 7/7 currently. Yeah, I mean, Ancestral Mask is gonna fuck somebody up really bad. Like,
Special Mask, Invigorate, Might of Volcroza.
yeah.
Just like get somebody.
Oh God. Yeah. So we have the ability to just kill somebody right now, and we have a lot of mana. I think we tap this for
Yeah.
2. We play Whisperer of the Wilds. This taps for 2 as well. I think we wait, how much do we need to if we gave it +8/+8, is that enough? That's 15. But we've already hit somebody for 7. No, we hit them for 5. So we would need to hit for 7 plus 5 is 12. So another 4, we just need 4, right? So we go
Hmm.
1 for groundswell because we played a land and we draw a
Yep.
card. And then we go to
Yep. Yep.
combat. And inside of combat, we have so many ways to, if they block, to like mess this up, right? So we go like, actually, I think before combat, we would probably go 1-2 smell fear, proliferate
Yep.
to draw another card. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, and
And
there's rams through
Jesus.
too.
So like they could try really hard to stay alive here. They're just super dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, super
Yeah.
dead. And we have
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana up, which means we have the ability to kill 2 thing. Like, yeah, we don't have any protection right now. So let's assume that our commander is gonna die here, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, we could, yeah, just send it back to the zone.
I
And
mean, ram through would be awfully tempting right now because like we could kill 2 players, right? Like if some like you
yeah,
go, might, invigorate, ram through. That's 16.
yeah, it's a lot of it's a lot of
Plus
damage.
draw 3, right? So
Yeah.
maybe the message here is that we actually just do this, and we kill the 2 players who we haven't damaged so far, or try
Well,
to.
ram through's not gonna deal commander damage,
Oh, that's a good point. So yeah, kill the
but it is
1
gonna deal a
player.
lot of damage.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So let's just say we do that the next turn. I think we need to assume that this dies.
Hmm.
So maybe we kill something before it dies.
Yep.
With like pounce, draw a
Sure.
card, and then untap. This is dead now, but it doesn't matter because we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 6. Recast it. Now we
Yep.
have like giga mana. 2, 4,
Yep.
6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
And I think this is where we go 1, 2, 3 Ancestral Mask.
Hmm.
Although we would probably do this next turn when we're actually ready to hit, because this is like
Yeah.
really signifying that we're about to
Yeah.
kill somebody and we don't have protection, so maybe not.
Yeah. Maybe not
Um,
this turn, but yeah. I mean, that's
maybe
at
we
least
just play
+4
control.
+4.
Yeah, we've got 3
Yeah.
kill spells, right? So we tap, we kill something, we draw a card, and this is actually, let's reset this. And then we tap it, and we kill something, and we draw a card, make a treasure.
Hmm.
Where's the treasure? Wow, there's no treasure here, even though this creates a treasure. Weird. We're just going to do the
Weird.
initiative. This will be in a treasure token here.
Sure.
And then say we need to kill another thing. We go Master's Rebuke, and we draw a card. This is looking really berserk. Like, so
Yeah. It definitely gives me Gargos vibes. If you know that card from like normal commander,
no, I'm not familiar
The-
with that.
it's a giant Hydra that
Okay.
whenever it's like an
Oh.
8/7 for 6
And you
or
fight
whatever,
things over and over.
and you just fight stuff whenever
Yeah.
something of yours gets targeted. So, yeah, it's just so much damage just getting dealt to everything.
Constantly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we just go like Quarian Ranger and then Arbor Elf. And we just have like infinite mana. We go
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. We go Scale the Heights, put a counter on this, draw 2 cards, put a land into play. I mean, this is a kill turn. 1 mana Might of Old Corrosa. It goes up to a 10/10. We draw another card. Hit somebody. Oh, well, I mean, at this point, we would probably just go 1, 2, 3 Ancestral Mask to make it lethal.
Yeah.
And then, like, hit somebody. We're going to
Mhm.
draw another card because of that. This is gross. I mean, we didn't have a start that afforded us early protection, but I think what we're learning here is this deck is a lot less about auras, and we're a lot less concerned about them falling off. I would actually be
Yeah.
much more interested in some of the auras that are recastable for that reason. Maybe Rancor is fine because Rancor puts us up to 6 power. That's a 3 shot. And when our
Yep.
commander dies, we just recast it and we say, sure, whatever, we don't care. We're still at 7 cards. This whole game, we have been at like 6 to 10 cards, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Hmm.
know, um,
Yeah.
and yeah, this feels super solid. This feels like it looks exactly like the nightmares I've had about this deck since the first time I played it,
Yeah.
where it's like,
Yeah.
how many cards do you have in hand again,
Yeah.
and how much
It's like
mana?
Satyr Enchanter. It's like Satyr Enchanter, but like, what if Satyr Enchanter just killed everything too?
Yeah. What if Satyr Enchanter was like a removal engine and a draw engine? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Well, this is great. I like this. I'd like to keep playtesting this, but we do need to wrap things up here. I have a circus, a Halloween circus to go to with my partner.
Awesome.
So we are going to close things up here, but just want to take a moment to thank everybody who's joined us today. Oh, where you are. There you're at. You're back again. I just want to take a moment to thank everybody who joined us today. And of course, to thank you, Ankylosaur, for joining me for another video for your first Let's Build, I believe. This is the first time we've had you on,
It
right?
is.
Ah,
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
oh, it's been
It's
a
been a
long
blast.
time coming. Yeah, we've had a nice digital dialogue going, and of course, for those of you who don't know, Ank and I actually met at the Detroit RIW
Yeah.
cPDH 1K, which was
Yep.
really fun. So we were actually in the final round together. You were playing Aaron Street Urchin,
Yep.
and the Gruul control Gruul, yeah,
Roll
which
control.
was
Yep.
Gruul Control. Yep. And you've got a video that you put out on that too. So for those of you watching right now, make sure to go check out his YouTube channel and check out his deck tech on Aaron's Street Urchin. Definitely a very cool approach on control in like non-traditional control colors. And in fact, like, I don't think it's a very hot take to say that Gruul is one of the worst color combinations in the format. Um,
Oh, for sure. Hmm.
and I tend to avoid those kinds of takes because they're so often incorrect and there's so often like really good examples of the opposite. But Gruul, it does suffer. It is very
It is.
low.
It is a tough one to build.
Yeah, there's just very little in the way of card advantage, but Aranus gives you that, right? Aranus gives you like returning lands back into play, and you can play all these like ETB creatures, and you've got removal in the command zone. So it's definitely good. So I recommend everybody check that out. I've left the link in the description below as well as in the chat there at Ankylosaur MTG. So yeah, once again, thank you for joining us for this Let's Build today.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just going to do a quick readout here. For those of you who are interested in joining the channel, you can check us out at patreon.com/common connoisseurs, where we have all sorts of membership options if you want to support us financially and put money into the buy Papa Popper a new commander, or sorry, a new computer, not a commander. We are working towards trying to get a computer that can handle what I'm asking it to do. And that is exactly where the money is going, so you can know that your money is going to a good spot. And if you want to join these fine folks, you can go to that there. Max, Kelp, Paul, Neil, Alex, Jared, Dax, the PDH Pod, Eric, Adgan, Zach, Scooby, Chris, Mizu, William, Paul, Corey, Derek, Ian, and Noyark. So thank you all so much for your contributions to the channel. It means the world to me that folks have put their money where their mouth is and have helped support continued expansion of this channel and this community. We're about to reach 700 Discord members, which is a
Oh, that's awesome.
crazy number of people. And of course, whenever you hear that number, you always have to keep in mind that some of those, may not be active people anymore, or they may be, there may be some bots in there. It's possible, but it's a large number of people, given that this channel is, sub 2,000 subscribers. So it's kind of an exciting milestone. And one other milestone I want to mention before we sign off here is that on the 16th of October, it totally went right by me, was the 1 year anniversary of making content on this channel. So thank you all so much for being a part of this journey and in helping make this project possible. So Yeah, and especially that guy Mizu. There's definitely some cool guys on that list. That's definitely right, Mizu. You're definitely one of them, my friend. All right. Well, I think it's time to wrap this up. Let me know in the comments if you have any other ideas. Make sure to like as you're on your way out. Subscribe if you aren't already. And we'll catch you all on the battlefield. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you later. Peace.